Hello. Make it a little bit brighter. Not too bright. Hello. Hello. You know, I always have issues with Instagram. It's always Instagram, y'all. Hey, how y'all doing? I hope y'all had a wonderful weekend. I hope y'all had a wonderful weekend. Welcome in. All right. It's always Instagram. It is always Instagram. Hello, welcome in. All right, we're good on Instagram. All right, I'm now live on Instagram. Hello, welcome in. Let's see. Welcome in, everybody. I'm going to share this. If you guys could go ahead and share this live on your Facebook page, that would be amazing. You could go ahead and share this live. Hello, hello. Hello, hello. I'm doing some new things today, y'all. So I'm trying some new things. I got the page set up, the Facebook page set up now. So I'm excited about that. And my light is a little flickery. I don't like that very much, but hello, welcome in. Y'all could share the page on over to your Facebook page. Share the live onto your Facebook. Let's see, and going over to my page. Hello, hi, welcome in. I am just right now, what's going on is that I'm getting everything set up, and we are going to be reading chapter 3 of Abundance Now by Lisa Nichols and Janet Switzer. We're going to be reading chapter 3 of Abundance Now by Lisa Nichols. And I'm getting everything set up on Facebook. I launched my Miss Taylor Said Facebook page today. So I'm adjusting to that, and that's very new. So let's see if I can get this live video going on Facebook. And I'm going to have to close the door pretty soon for my, let's see. I may have to, let's go here. Welcome in, y'all. Welcome in. US visitor. And link. And then I'm going to share this. Thank y'all for your patience. Again, I'm doing something a little bit new here. Trying to get into the Christmas spirit, as you can see. Trying to get into the Christmas spirit. Share now. All right, let's see how this goes. Welcome in. Welcome to Reading with Miss Taylor Said. I am your host, Miss Taylor Said. This show was, I'm your host, Taylor. And yes, okay. This show was created in an effort to accomplish some goals. In an effort for me to accomplish some of my goals. One of my goals being to read more books and actually complete the books that I've purchased. And actually go through and read them all the way through. Hey, we live! And actually finish the books that I've started and read the books that I've actually purchased that is collecting dust in my house. Um, Another thing that I wanted to do was get some practice with reading aloud, because some of my goals that I have will include me reading a teleprompter and having to read aloud in front of people on cue, which leads me to my third goal, which is to get more comfortable with an audience, get more comfortable with public speaking, and engaging with an audience. Hey, and engaging with an audience. And so with all of those things combined, I have a show called Reading with Miss Taylor Said, and we're here. I'm working on a few things. I got a couple of things launching and in the works, and all of that, all of those things, because I want to use the energy from today's big old everybody getting their powers event. So I got my powers by using my creative brain today, and I've been doing some work. Okay, so I'm a little bit behind and everything, but you know, trying to get festive. It's the week of Christmas. It is the day that we're supposed to all get our superpowers. If you got some sort of superpower today, leave it in the comments. um, and for those of you that are joining us for the first time, we are reading Lisa Nichols' Abundance Now. I'm going to find a way to move all those other videos to this page, but as of right now, we are reading Lisa Nichols' Abundance Now. And we are starting chapter 3 today. So get your notebooks ready. If you, the playback will be up after we're finished. But if you missed any of the episodes from the previous week, um, go to my main Facebook page. Go to my main Facebook page, Taylor Cope, and you'll be able to see those. You'll be able to see those lives and those playbacks. If you look up Reading with Miss Taylor Said, you'll be able to see those lives and those playbacks. And on Instagram, they are on IGTV. And you guys, look at this. Look what I found this weekend. A bookmark. I hate that it's so bright that you can't see, but it's all right. We're gonna get a good camera situation in here soon enough. But I got a bookmark. I'm so excited. I found this. And so now I don't have to use random pieces of paper to mark my spot. So let's get into chapter 3. Chapter 3 is the second E, enchantment in your life relationships. Starts with a quote. When you sit down at the end of your life and reflect on its value, you will realize that your real treasures were in your relationships, not in your possessions. This is by Lisa Nichols. That quote is by Lisa Nichols. As you move forward on your path to abundance, you'll quickly discover that you're not alone on this journey. You've got family, friends, colleagues, co-workers, advisors, employees, love relationships, casual associates, and others who are on the bus with you. And whether they are abundant thinkers or not, whether they support you or criticize you, whether they challenge you or limit you, how you relate to them will determine the quality of your life. You might be thinking, how do relationships fit into my life of abundance? Yeah, that's what I used to worry about. In fact, I thought, like most people, that abundance was first and foremost about achievement, societal status, money, possessions, and wealth creation. Until I realized that every interaction I had, every decision I ever made, and virtually every experience I've ever been through in my life involved other people and would likely impact my future relationships too. This gave me pause. Of course, when I truly reflected on this idea, I realized the quality of my life depends on the quality of my relationships. I began to look at the people in my life, becoming intentional about including mentally, emotionally, and spiritually evolved people who could amplify every area of my life, even if it meant simply giving me space to be my authentic, evolving, fearless self. People who stretched me to be a bigger, better version of myself. I'm going to stop because I always stop on, in between sections. One thing I want to note for those who are joining us, that may be joining us for the first time, this book was copyrighted in, I want to say 2016, 2015, 2016, which means, sorry, let's see. It was copyrighted in 2016, which means that it was written at best 2015. So we obviously are living in a much different time. Like she wrote this in the Obama years. So we're obviously living in a much different time than when she wrote this. So I think that even in 2020, I've noticed that we have found value value that is as important, if not more important, than monetary and financial success. We've found value in our relationships and how we build them and how we communicate with people and the things that we do to maintain those relationships. We've been put in a situation with this quarantine where we can't ignore our relationships. We can't ignore those personal moments because we literally don't have access to all the other things that get viewed as, markers of status, that get viewed as markers of status to occupy our time. So I wholeheartedly agree with what she's saying. But I will say, like, her writing it in a way where it's like a far-fetched idea that you would view your relationships as valuable as your other physical, tangible markers of success. Eh, that's not as big of a, I don't know. In my experience, is not as big of a separation of that anymore. So that's good for us. Good for us, like for being people of relationships and valuing relationships more. Yes, I'm trying to look as festive as possible, and this is as calm as it's going to be this week, y'all. I have ugly sweaters that I did not get to wear to an office party or to a Christmas party. I have clothes that I'm not going to get to wear to any Christmas events, and so y'all are getting them. Okay, so something something. Are you listening? All the festive songs. Da 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 da. We're doing Christmas stuff while we're reading a book. It's Abundance Now by Lisa Nichols. And I just got lipstick on my book. Yay! The next section of this book, the next section of this chapter says your quality of life is determined by the quality of your relationships. What are the relationships we should all value the most? Those that inspire you to become the best possible version of yourself? I am not reading this correctly. I'm adding question marks to the things that she didn't have question marks for. What are the relationships we should all value the most? Those that inspire you to become the best possible version of yourself, those to become the best possible version of yourself. That's all I want for everyone. Those that call you to your greatness, and those that hold you accountable to the person that you are becoming versus holding you hostage to the person that you have been. The relationships we should value the most are those that inspire you to become the best possible version of yourself, those that call you to your greatness, and those that hold you accountable to the person that you are becoming versus holding you hostage to the person that you have been. Abundant relationships are those where you can take off your superhero cape and where you don't have to be everything to everybody. In fact, you could be nothing in that moment if necessary. Abundant relationships give you permission to be not only as brilliant, beautiful, and genius as you've always been, but also clueless, lost, and confused in that moment. Mm. There is no judgment in these kinds of relationships. An abundant relationship holds you tight, but also gives you space to breathe. When I sit with wildly successful people whom you and I would admire, 100% of the time they say if they had to do it again, they would make changes in the area of their relationships. 100%. 100%. They've discovered that their relationships are their greatest bank account and the investment from which they make the highest return on investment, or ROI. What could you do to become more heavily invested in your relationships that matter the most to you? I'm very invested in the relationships that matter the most to me. I spend a lot of time talking to the people that I talking to the people I care about the most. I spend a lot of time checking in, and even if I'm not consistently, giving my attention to a particular combination of people every week, every person that is in my close knit group, they know that I invest a lot into my relationships, a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of listening, and things like that. So we're finding that out. We're learning that in this quarantine. I think that this is kind of reiterating a point that we've all, right. Yes, yes. Divesting might be might be the thing for you, friend, because you've invested so much. Um, um, I forgot the point that I was making. This year, we again, with the way that the world is, no one could imagine when writing this that the world was going to be this way. With the way that the world is, you have to be invested in your relationships to survive. So, continue to do that, you guys. What could you do to become more heavily invested in your relationships that matter the most to you? The next section says, come to terms with the community you were born into. Woo! Y'all strap in for this one. This one sounds like it's going to be a little bit of hurt feelings. I can already feel it right here in my chest that my feelings are just come to terms. Time to come to terms with the community you were born into. Mm. The relationships that affected you the most growing up were those you were born with. Parents, siblings, grandparents, and extended family. Again, y'all, I'm going to say go ahead and strap in because it seems like she's going to get into our feelings here. So if you're just now joining us, we are reading Lisa Nichols' Abundance Now. We're reading Lisa Nichols' Abundance Now. Go ahead and strap in. All right. They're the ones who are there to greet you at every family reunion and every holiday with either great joy or great drama. These are the links you're born into, and frankly, it's hard to get away from the influence they've had on your life. I'm still close to my siblings and my parents, and although they don't guide my career or my business, I rely on them for the camaraderie and let my hair down kind of family time that nurtures me and helps me inject playtime into my life. The other day, after I met with my publishers on this book, I flew to Sacramento to go crab fishing with my brother, my dad, my son, and our friends who invited us. At the time, I had just come off of a 21-day tour that included 17 events in multiple countries, followed by 3 days in New York meeting with my investment banking team and negotiating a major book deal with multiple publishing houses. To go from all of that to the simplicity of seeing my dad laugh so hard it hurt, celebrating my brother who pulled up 10 crabs at once, and watching Jelani prepare the most delicious crab bisque, crab cakes, and crab and cheese stuffed mushrooms. Man, it just showed me the roundness of life. It was as and we are reading Lisa Nichols' Abundance Now. We are reading Lisa Nichols' Abundance Now. If you are just now coming in, welcome in. This trip was by no means diminished by its simplicity. I felt my feet on the ground. I thought, wow, this truly is what abundance means. Abundance is being able to follow my professional calling and live this life at the same time. Mm. She put it so simply and so beautifully. Balancing your family and work life and the abundance that you want to have in achieving your goals, but also having abundance in your family relationships and making sure that you maintain that and maintain the integrity and the pureness of your relationships with your family if you're able to. Mm. Okay. So the next section might be going deeper into the parts I thought would might hurt our feelings. I'm gonna take a swig of water, y'all, real quick. I hope y'all are doing all right today on this Monday. I appreciate y'all being here. Don't disrupt the old tribe to create a new one. Don't disrupt the old tribe to create a new one. Aside from your family, there's the community that you've selected, those friendships and professional relationships you've surrounded yourself with over the years. Interestingly, Interestingly, as I counsel my students and clients on their game to the next level, these are typically the relationships that most people want to eliminate right away. Perhaps they're experiencing intolerance, pain, or discomfort in these relationships. Perhaps some relationships are broken while others cause too much drama. For whatever reason, the relationships just don't feel good anymore. When I teach program participants the tools for creating relationships that will enchant them, their first inclination is to eliminate those relationships that are bringing pain. Y'all want to talk about it? Y'all want to talk about how as soon as you start pursuing your goals, the people that are not lining up and not pursuing the same things as you're pursuing, you be ready to cut them off? Or the relationships that are hurting you and bringing you pain, you be ready to cut them off? Let's see what she says, because we still are in the business of preserving our peace. Amen. So let's see what she's going to say, because again, Obama years, it was a different time, it was a different era. We all had different personal goals back in 2014, 2015. So let's just see what she says, okay? The bang. Okay. All right. But let me give you a word of caution here before you start cutting ties. Before breaking off multiple relationships at the same time, consider consider the disruption it will cause in your life and the energy you will have to expend, energy that will keep you from focusing on your goals and daily micro wins. Again, this was written in a time before quarantine, so it's like we got time now. We got time to figure out the disruption. But anyway, of course, I'm not advocating for you to stay in relationships that suck the life out of you, relationships that are one sided and no longer serve you. But what I am recommending is that you don't break out the Jinsu knives and chop off the heads of everyone in your tribe because you believe that is what will make you feel good. The fallout of this approach can potentially be more painful than a healthy, measured transition away from these relationships. Of course, a healthy transition doesn't mean a long goodbye. It just means that you've thought through your exit and you're not simply reacting to what you've read in this book. Don't be rigid. Keep these relationships for the time being while you form new relationships with people who are like minded, who stir your soul, and who bring you to the intellectual bond and proactive support that you need in your life. When it comes to your romantic relationship, be especially prudent. If you feel it's not the relationship that will fulfill you long term, seek first to understand what's missing. If acknowledgement is something that's really important to you, for example, there are many places you can find integrity based friendships where acknowledgement is part of the dynamic. When we conduct our workshops, for example, we make sure they are high in acknowledgement, love, and individual attention. Some people are comfortable with this level of touch, but they're not the ones who attend our training. But they're not the ones who attend our trainings. But for everyone else, acknowledgement is exactly what they want. They come to get the need met. Of course, ultimately, if a relationship is sucking life out of you, if it's truly intolerable, my first question to you is, have you tried everything possible to improve it? When I coach married couples in a state of breakdown, where one partner or both wants to divorce, I always start with the question, have you tried everything? Most often, the first few times we meet, they haven't. I send them home to try everything again, giving them a list of what everything looks like. At the top of the list is simply having a truly transparent conversation that includes sentence starters like, I'm angry that you. My biggest fear is that. I understand that. I take responsibility for. What I really want for us is. What I love about you is. And what I'm willing to do differently is. Sentences that start with these honest and open statements are the first part of trying everything. The second thing to do is ask for forgiveness for your for your shortfalls in the relationship, for the part you have played in the breakdown, regardless of what your partner has done. Finally, seek mutual support from the outside via a counselor, therapist, or spiritual advisor, or attend a relationship workshop or another couple's activity that takes you both out of your day-to-day environment and makes evolving the relationship its primary focus. These are all the have you tried everything checklists. Why do I insist upon this? Because it's our job, all of us, to live a life of no regret. When we are in our final season of rest and reflection, my prayer for you and me both is that we have very few regrets. For that reason alone, I say in any relationship, sibling, friend, lover, if you feel that the relationship needs to end, make sure you've tried everything before giving up. Most of us have not, and if we did, we might be surprised at what can be salvaged. Ooh, I needed I needed that. Um I needed that because I am pretty bad about like, oh word, you not rocking with me? Cut it. Like I'm not as bad about it now. I do my best to try to weigh out all the options and weigh out everything everything that has led me to this point, and I try my best to just kind of like measure all of that out so that I know that if I make a decision that leads to me leaving a relationship, whether it's a friendship or a romantic relationship or anything like that, like, or even family relationships, when I back away from those relationships, it's like I think about everything that I've done, everything that could have possibly been done, and what possible outcomes could be. Now, the possible outcomes part is a little bit difficult because, excuse me, the possible outcomes part is a little bit difficult because possible outcomes can be altered by your anxiety. You can predict something bad would happen based on your bad example or based on your bad experiences with a person and just count them out and not give them, if you're not given the benefit of the doubt. So this is something I definitely need to take as well and make sure that when I'm cutting ties with people, I've tried everything that is possible in my power to do to make the relationship work before I let it go. Let's see, we got some comments over here on Facebook. The boundaries created after you start on your path and you got a map to be talking to the backpack and yes, I also feel that way. I haven't necessarily lost relationship. Now, I haven't lost relationships. Beatrice said, I haven't lost relationships so much as we just adjust the way we interact. I feel that. I feel that I haven't really lost, like, I've lost relationships just because they were not relationships of depth anyway. So they were never going to last. But the ones that are long lasting or have been long lasting before and were really monumental now, it's been more of an adjustment to the interaction rather than just being like, see ya, I don't want to talk to you no more, block me, block you, remove me from everything, and all of that. Like, it's different. I don't know why I have so many yawns in me today, y'all, and why normally whenever we're going, this moves real fast, but I don't know why I got so many yawns in me today. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and get my caffeine. You know what I'm saying? Hate to get up in the middle of the live stream, but it's my show, so we can do whatever I can do whatever I want. So I'm gonna go get my caffeine real quick, really fast. It's in the fridge. All right, all right, all right. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. And I hope you guys are excited about whatever Christmas you're, or whatever holiday, whatever version of whatever holiday you celebrate. I hope that you're able to get the best version of that possible. I hope you get exactly what you want for this holiday season based on how things are going. The next section is called Access Another Level of Compassion and Understanding Within Broken Relationships. Ooh, she really getting deep. She really getting in here today. Sometimes the pain can seem so all consuming that you just want it to end. This goes not only for romantic relationships, but friendships too. But friendships too. I feel that. But friendships too. You're eager to cast off the entire relationship versus accessing another level of compassion and understanding within yourself. But often, compassion and understanding will transform the other individual into the supportive, like minded, and rocket booster friend or romantic partner we wish the person would be. And it most certainly will transform us. What's one way to take the high road, be more compassionate, and seek to understand? Begin communicating in ways that you never have before. I can say from experience, this is life changing. And I know she's going to get into it, but adjusting how you communicate with people and coming from a place of compassion and understanding that, and not taking what they're doing and saying personally, can really shift where that pain goes and how you um reciprocate the energy. Because if you reciprocate it, if you filter it through compassion and love, you can give that energy back with the same intensity but full of love. So yes. um Begin communicating in ways you never have before, because a breakdown in communication, not asking for what you need, not setting healthy boundaries, and the inability to say no, the inability to give a healthy yes, are all forms of your lack of good communication skills. Let's go ahead and go back over that. Because a breakdown in communication, not asking for what you need, not setting healthy boundaries, the inability to say no, the inability to give a healthy yes, are all forms of your your mine lack of good communication skills. Ouch. She literally wrote ouch. I told you I was going to lay the truth on you. Similarly, when you withhold your frustrations until you become explosive and believe the only solution is to end the relationship, realize that you are very much a part of that breakdown. You didn't express how you really felt, how you really feel. You didn't say no in a healthy way. You didn't give your reasoning and ask for feedback. You just decided to give the other person a piece of your mind, which is simply another way of saying, I'm going to vomit all over you today. So when you choose to hold that stuff in, all right, you choose to hold it in. This is to me too. I'm looking at the mirror at myself because I got a mirror right over. I'm looking at the mirror at myself and talking to the Taylor in the mirror. Okay. All right. I mean this. When you I think I've mentioned this before in one of the other videos. And I'm putting that down for a second because this is something that again drastically changed my life. The way that I understood my interactions with people and how I changed my interactions with people. Because again, and let me show you a book that really, and we're going to read this actually after the next book we're going to read is by an author that I know, and her book is oh my gosh, this is frustrating me. Her book is not that long. Her book is not that long, and the book following that is short as well, but I'm going to show you what book this is. If you have not read the Four Agreements, if you have not read the Four Agreements, go ahead and pick it up and we're going to read it. We're going to read it on this show as well. because it's life changing. Because when you change, when you think about, when you start to sit back and think about why you're communicating what you're communicating and what your intended outcome is every time you open your mouth to engage with another person about something that is not frivolous, because we know when we're talking about meaningless, mindless, frivolous things, and while we do need to make sure that we maintain positive intentions when we open our mouths to speak, when you are addressing things in a relationship with a person that you care about, it is so important that you say everything and communicate everything that person needs to know to give them an opportunity to correct the behavior. Because if they don't know, they can't do anything about it. They can't, if they're hurting you, but you have not clearly communicated, like they're just supposed to assume that you're hurt because you're not calling them as much. They're supposed to assume that you are, and again, I'm talking to myself as well, because I'm good for a ghost. Call me the Snapchat icon because I'll ghost you. Call me Casper because I'm good about ghosting. And that's not a good thing to have on you, because you have to be able to know that you did everything that was in your power to do to make sure the relationship, to make sure that on your end you can happily and safely say, I did everything that I can do. And if the relationship still doesn't work, your hands are clean when you walk away from it. And yes, that is self-preservation. It's self-preservation, but it's self-preservation for your peace of mind. Because when you are when you walk away from a relationship, and this goes back to what me and Beatrice say all the time, relationships without questions. That mantra changed our lives. That mantra changed our lives. Relationships without questions. Relationships without questions. When you have beef with somebody, you need to say, and no matter what the relationship is, when you have beef with somebody, like, in order for you to safely walk away from that relationship, you have to clearly communicate everything it is that they need to know. And I'm talking about people you care about. I'm talking about the ones that you care about. The ones who, if they were to end up in the hospital right now, like, it would tear you up to wonder what's going on with them. You know? Um it's so important that you give everybody the opportunity to do right by you, and it's so that you can have peace. It's self-preservation for your own peace, so that when you make the decision to walk away from the relationship, because sometimes you got to do it just so you can comfortably walk away, or so you can figure out a way to move forward. But it's so important to, and I'm beating a horse right now, but I feel like there's something else on the other side of this. It's so important to make sure that you communicate every single thing. Don't hold it in and think that they're going to figure it out, because they're not. Just assume that motherfucker is an idiot. Excuse my language, but just assume they an idiot and they don't know. Just assume that they don't know and that they dumb. Just assume they're dumb and that they have no idea, like, for whatever reason, the part of their brain that problem solves to figure you out and how you feeling and what you thinking and all that stuff. Just assume they ain't got that part of their brain broke. Throw it away. It don't exist. Just assume that. And when you treat people and when you approach people with the assumption that they just don't know what you're feeling, because guess what? They don't know what you're feeling unless you communicate what you're feeling. They don't know that you're upset unless you communicate that you're upset. They don't know that you're sad unless you communicate that you're sad. And I know this seems very simple and plain to say, but so many of us were raised in households where we did not get to express our feelings, and we did not get to plainly say, I am sad. And we also were not told by our parents that they were sad. So we had to figure out what their mood was going to be, and we had to be hyper vigilant about what their moods were going to be, because they didn't have no healthy ways to express what their actual emotions were. They just had specific outcomes that they wanted from us as their children. So they had raggedy ways of expressing, and I'm not coming for your mama. If your mama was able to express herself with you and calmly and sorry that, and give me a hug, mommy loves you. If your mama did that, great. If your mama apologized to you and you was born in the late 80s, you was born in the 80s or 90s, I'm so happy for you. But most of us have parents whose Pluto is in Virgo and they don't apologize. Okay? They don't. They don't know how to apologize. You might get one apology every 10 years. So we had to be freaking mind readers and figure out what they were feeling based on how hard they were slamming a cabinet or how heavy their steps were or some body language nonverbal through some sort of nonverbal communication. We had to figure out their feelings. So now we've grown up into adults that don't know how to freaking talk to people and don't know how to freaking talk to people. And then we also grew up with technology that makes it so that we're kind of we are stunted in our communication skills, our verbal communication skills. So with knowing that, with knowing that, and with knowing that more than likely, especially if you are dealing with people who are from the similar socioeconomic class as you, if you're dealing with people from the similar culture as you, whether that's in friendships or romantic relation or love relationships or whatever, when you're dealing with those people, when you're dealing with those people, recognize they probably have a similar experience as you. Recognize that they may have, there's this wonderful post going around on Facebook talking about the difference between people that guess and people that ask. And there are some people that will plainly ask for the things that they want. And there are others that want you to guess what they want because they don't know how to just kind of directly ask. So become an asker. Ask for what you want. Ask people for what you want. And the worst thing that they can say is no. And everything I'm saying out loud to y'all, I'm saying to myself because I'm very my anxiety, is surrounded by my inability to communicate my feelings. And so now I go above and beyond to make sure, that's why I talk so damn much, because I make sure I go above and beyond to make sure that every single thing I say and everything I communicate are able to be understood and received by the person that I'm intending to give them to. How can I fault them for not understanding me? How can I be upset with them when they don't know how I feel when I never told them? I had a relationship one time, a romantic relationship, and I was in my early 20s, and at the end of the relationship, I poured out all the things that hurt me that I hadn't said before. And while the relationship definitely needed to end it, and there were plenty of reasons that this person gave me to end the relationship, on an emotional level, I sabotaged him because I didn't even give that man an opportunity to try to fix those hurt spots or try to adjust himself in those hurt spots. I didn't even give him a chance because I kept it all bottled in and wrote poems about it and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with doing journaling and creative writing to help you articulate your feelings, but at some point you have to communicate the things that are necessary to be communicated to a person. And one way to narrow that down is that when you're looking at a situation that you have conflict in, you can look at strip it. Strip the situation of all the parts. you can look at it and be like, okay, what happened? Look at the things that happened. What happened is not the problem. I don't know how we got here, y'all, but we here now. What happened is not the problem. What happened is a side effect or a symptom of the larger problem. So look at what happened. Look at what happened, and remember and keep in mind that what happened is your perception of what happened. Okay? So look at what happened. Isolate what happened. Then, when you're looking at the events that happen, start trying to answer the question of why that happened. What do you know about this person? What do you know about them? Do you know that they grew up in a household where their moms were yellers and screamers and cussers? And so when they had a knee jerk reaction and went the fuck off on you, you remember, well, while it ain't right that they did that, it ain't right that they did that. I'm gonna keep in mind they mama is a yeller. They mama be screaming at them and be hitting them in the eye whenever, like whatever it is. Like they mom be popping off on them like that. So, all right, I'm gonna keep that in mind. It doesn't excuse the behavior, but it's something to keep in mind. So when you start thinking about why they might have reacted like that based on their experience growing up and based on the situation that happened, why they would have looked at you or felt a way towards you, looking at that part and thinking about the parts where you're responsible and focusing a lot of your attention on the parts that where you're responsible. Now, what I will say, because I've if, for those that know me, and I mean pretty much everybody that's up here knows me, and for those that watch the playback, part of my story is that I was in an abusive relationship, and I bring that up because during that time, in my overcompensation of understanding and compassion, I spent a lot of time identifying the parts that made me responsible and put me at fault, and understanding those parts without reciprocation. Make sure that you identify the parts where you're responsible and then stop. You don't have to dig deeper and go in and do the thing where you find so many reasons why it's your fault and why you're responsible that it absolves the person of any responsibility. You don't want to do that, but take responsibility for the parts that you contributed. Even if that part is, I didn't listen to you well enough. I didn't I when I didn't have clarity, I should have followed up with you and asked you, to make sure I had that clarity. Doing those things. And once you've done that, then when you start looking at now what I really want to address with you, don't look at the event and just be like that event. Because a lot of times, if it's something that you weren't able to address in the moment, it's because it's linked to a pattern that has harmed you before, that you may not have spoken up about before in the past. And so now you're in a situation where you let it slide before, you might have let it slide a second time, and here we are at a third time, and they didn't get your subtle hint that this was bothering you. They didn't notice that you shut down when they was doing that thing. They didn't notice any of your nonverbal cues. And you didn't speak up when it originally happened. So now we have a pattern. Now we have a pattern that's going on. But you need to be mature enough to look at the pattern and be able to isolate that pattern and now take all the things that we just did and be like, hey, so I wanted to talk to you because um, I wanted to make sure that we had clarity, we had understanding, and I wanted to share with you that my feelings were hurt as a result of something that you did. Um, During this event, this happened, And I understand that, you may have reacted like that because of, I mean, I know you, so I know that there are certain things that you just kind of like naturally do, your natural instincts, especially because like your mom's a yeller. So like I totally, like, I didn't enjoy being yelled at, but I totally get why that was your knee-jerk reaction to that moment. Um, I totally get it. And I honestly, I feel like I could have done a better job of doing this because I know that about you. But I wanted to give you a heads up about that because I love you. And there's so many things that you do good that I love and I care about. But this moment hurt me. And I've noticed that it's kind of tied to this pattern. And it's something I've noticed. Oh, okay. Well, give me some examples. Again, I'm not counting sins or anything like that, but this happened and I didn't really say anything because I didn't think it was a big deal. But then the second time it happened, I was bothered and I was hoping you would notice that I was bothered, but you didn't. And this is the third time that's happened. And so, I just really um wanted to communicate that with you because I didn't want to leave anything unsaid. Give them an opportunity to talk. If they lose focus if they lose focus in the frivolous stuff like the hurt feelings and the yelling and all that stuff, bring them back, recenter them. Hey, I'm not trying to come at you. I'm not trying to make you feel bad for reacting like that because I totally get where it comes from because I know you. I trust you. You got credibility with me. Like I know you. So I know that that's not where that's not coming from a place of anger for me, but it may more so be coming from a place of hurt and what I did triggered a reaction. So I totally get you and I understand you and I'm here for you, but I wanted to let you know how I felt. Don't do that whole like, oh, well, I need you to apologize. None of that. That's so whack to require somebody to apologize to you. If y'all are able to come to a peaceful understanding, if they apologize, great. But the most important part is that they understood what happened and how you were affected by it. And I mean, if there's a plan of action for how that's going to be alleviated moving forward, cool. But what you can do is set a boundary then. Is be like, hey, so I've communicated this with you. And I wanted to communicate this with you because I wanted to make sure that we were on the same page and, that I could depend on you to or not to do that. And if that's something I can't depend on you to not do, let me know. And I won't look for you to do that. So these are things I'm learning from my relationships. These are the styles of communication I'm learning from my relationships. But there's so many ways to there's so many ways to resolve conflict without verbally attacking people and without manipulating people into your will and into behaving or just giving you what you want to shut you up. It's more important that you communicate what you're feeling and what outcome you're looking for and your understanding, like accountability and all of that. Like communicating those things is far more important than trying to get somebody to apologize or just do something to shut you up. So we have a few more minutes left. I enjoyed talking about that. I think I can go ahead and finish this section because I didn't finish the section before. And she's probably going to say the things that I just said, but let's go ahead and finish the section. So when she ended with, I'm going to vomit all over you today, because when you just, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did that, you might as well look at that as you like taking a bucket of your emotional poison and just dumping it all over them. And it'd be the most disgusting bucket of trash you ever seen in your life. It makes you stinky and gross and just leaves a bad feeling and taste and smell and all of that, just all the senses, all bad. So, recognizing and owning that you need to build your own communication muscle in a relationship is one more way to be more compassionate and understanding. Strive to use the same authentic, transparent, and forthright communication guidelines in your friendships and your romantic relationships. Because if you find the right person, they're your friend, your best friend. So it's going to be like communicating with a friend anyway, that, has a couple extra, perks. And I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about emotional perks. Anyway, recognizing and owning that you need to build your own communication muscle in a relationship is one more way to be more compassionate and understanding. Strive to use the same authentic, transparent, forthright communication guidelines in your friendships and your romantic relationships. After all, a relationship is a relay. That's why it's called a relationship. I don't know if that's why it's called that, but she broke it down as relay, like relay race, shunship. So often we want to pass the baton and hope that no one runs with it. But it is impossible to run a relay race by yourself. When a friend or family member or romantic partner grabs the baton and runs with it, even when he or she becomes disruptive, argumentative, controlling, or defensive, you have to be mindful of how you will respond. I'm inviting you to consider how you'll respond and how you hand off that baton in the first place. Will it be with mature, considered, deliberate thought? How you relay could breathe new life into your relationships. Ooh, y'all. This one, looks like I want to. The next section I really want to get into, because the next section is called "Love Toxic People from a Distance." Now we're gonna save that one for Tuesday, because I know I'm gonna have a whole lot to say on that one, and we got about 4 minutes left. So I'm gonna get into these comments. If y'all are on Clubhouse, in right now it's only for Apple users, but if y'all are on Clubhouse, my name on there is Miss Taylor Said, so add me. And let's get into these comments. Most of them are on Facebook. Over here, Fran on IG. Over here, Fran said, "Woo," and shh, because I must have been too loud. I must have been far too loud when I was saying that stuff. Let's see what we got over here. So Sarante said, "Definitely agree. Once I'm not cool with someone, I let them know exactly everything they did that ruined the relationship or friendship, wash my hands of them, and enjoy my peace without them. Then there's the possible our parents wouldn't let us be sad." Okay, so commenting on parenting, there's a possibility our parents wouldn't let us be sad, which in turn caused problems for most of us growing up without expression. We didn't know how to feel, which is problematic becoming an adult. Yes. Yes. There are some parents that just our parents' generation, they live in the exact same world as we do. And they be on the same Facebook that we be on. They be on the same internet that we be on. They be watching the same TV we watch. So the same media and sources of information that encourage our generation to focus on ourselves, get help, treat ourselves and things like that, they are on the same platforms that we're on. If they're choosing not to do it, they're making a choice. They are very, very clearly making a choice. Um, and they've made decisions to limit the way that they communicate. And don't even get me started on how hard it is for men my age who need to express themselves yet couldn't, because we were told it was weakness. That's a whole nother situation entirely. Yeah, men, I have a lot of thoughts, and I will write those thoughts out and put them in my podcast. Just so y'all know, there's a podcast coming. I know I've been talking about a podcast all year and I even have a sample episode out, but there is a podcast coming and it was written out. So, also, there's a Patreon being launched. So, for those of you who want to support in other ways, you know, that will be available soon, along with other things for Miss Taylor said. Um, yeah, but I took a class called Black Masculinity in college, and I really want to go and see if I can find those notes. I have a book. I have a book from when I took that class, and I want to go see if I can find those notes from that class because we talked about a lot of things. Um, mhm, yes. Well, a lot of the conversation over here is conversation within the audience. Um, if y'all don't have any other questions and or any other thoughts, I appreciate you guys joining me for the Monday episode of Reading with Miss Taylor Said. We only have this is the last full week of 2020. Next week, I can't see my calendar past my tree. Next week, we up out of here, bruh. We up out of 2020. Come next let's see, what's that, Saturday? I can't even see my dang on calendar. Jesus. Come on. Computer, stop cutting up in front of company. So next Friday is a whole new year. 2021. So make the best of this night, of this week, and we will continue chapter 3 tomorrow. I appreciate y'all joining me tonight, and I'm so excited to bring y'all more Miss Taylor Said. I hope that y'all have a lovely, lovely night, and follow me on Clubhouse. Y'all have a great night. Bye.